Novak Djokovic has made it clear once again, he never gives up, he never lowers his arms. After overcoming Taylor Fritz in a tough quarterfinal match, the Serbian sent a direct message to Carlos Alcaraz and to all those who counted him out. "I will not go out with a white flag," he said firmly. At 38 years old, he is determined to prove that he is still a threat at the US Open. Now, the challenge is even greater, facing an in-form Alcaraz, who has not dropped a single set throughout the tournament. The battle is set, and Djokovic assures that he will give everything to prevail. Djokovic comes from a demanding encounter against Taylor Fritz. Although he started dominating, the American fought back in the second and third sets, forcing the Serbian to bring out his best version. It was more than 3 hours of battle in which Noel once again showed his character, arguing with the crowd and even with his own team, but finishing with the victory. With this result, Djokovic notched his 11th consecutive win over Fritz and reached his 53rd Grand Slam semifinal. In New York, he also equals Jimmy Connors with 14 semifinals, a record that confirms his permanence at the top despite his age and the physical doubts he has carried this season. But what drew the most attention was his message after the match. He acknowledged that Alcaraz and Sinner are dominating the circuit and that everyone is expecting a final between them, but he made it clear that he has no intention of surrendering. With strong words, he said he will not wave a white flag, that he will fight for every point and will not allow himself to be written off before the match is played. The Serbian knows the challenge is enormous. Alcaraz arrives fresh, full of confidence, and playing at a very high level, but Djokovic trusts in his experience and his ability to endure at key moments. It is a generational clash, and Noel does not want to be a mere spectator at the party of the younger players. Ahead of the semifinal, Djokovic admitted that he will need his best physical and mental version. "I have 2 days to recover, and I must be ready for long rallies and to go to a fifth set if necessary," he explained. The key, according to him, will be to resist Alcaraz's pace and push the match to the limit. Throughout his career, the Serbian has shown that he thrives on the biggest stages, when the challenge seems impossible. And now, against an Alcaraz seeking his second title in New York, Djokovic wants to prove that he can still compete on equal terms with the very best. The prize would be historic, lifting his 25th Grand Slam and the 101st title of his career. An achievement that would further solidify him as an absolute legend of tennis, but to do so he must overcome an Alcaraz who is in unstoppable form and eager for revenge after the loss in Australia. With this clash, the US Open once again becomes the stage for the great duel of modern tennis, Djokovic's experience against Alcaraz's unstoppable youth. Both know there will be no room for error and that any detail could decide the match. Djokovic has sent a clear warning: he does not consider himself defeated before playing. Although all predictions point to a final between Alcaraz and Sinner, he assures that he will fight with his heart and his tennis to ruin the plans of the new generation. The US Open semifinal promises to be an epic battle between two worlds, the eternal champion and the young star destined to dominate the future. The tension is in the air, and Djokovic's message confirms it: there will be a fight until the last point. Carlos Alcaraz is already in the semifinals of the 2025 US Open and his next challenge is no ordinary one. Novak Djokovic, the man who at 38 years old remains a machine of competition. Facing this challenge, his coach Juan Carlos Ferrero is clear: to beat Noel, one plan is not enough. You need to be ready for three. Ferrero, who knows what it means to be at the top of tennis, keeps his tone calm and speaks with serenity. There is no room for euphoria or favoritism. Against the best in history, I cannot say Carlos is the favorite. He is playing spectacularly, yes, but with Novak nothing is guaranteed. The key, according to the coach, is not to obsess over what the rival does, but to make Alcaraz play his most solid tennis, intensity from the baseline, winners, and pushing Djokovic to his physical limits. Because in best-of-5 set matches, time also plays in favor of the Mercian. Little by little, as the hours go by, Novak can feel the strain. That is where Carlos has to take advantage of his youth and energy, Ferrero states. But the Spaniard does not deceive himself. Djokovic is a chameleon. At 38, he knows when to extend the rallies and when to shorten the points. He can go from being a defensive wall to an aggressive attacker in a matter of minutes. And that is where Ferrero's preparation comes in. With Novak it is clear: you have to be ready for anything. If he changes the pace, if he comes to the net, if he goes for quick points, we have to be prepared to respond. As I always tell Carlos, Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C, each one must be executed to the maximum. Meanwhile, Alcaraz smiles and transmits calm: I have everything under control. I feel very comfortable, hitting the ball very well and with a lot of confidence. His most important decision is clear: to focus on himself, not on the pressure or the external noise. For his part, Djokovic appears defiant, with a message that sounds like a declaration of war. They are the two best in the world. Everyone expects a final between Alcaraz and Sinner. I will try to ruin those plans. It is the clash of two mentalities: Alcaraz's cheerful confidence against Djokovic's indomitable defiance. The 2025 US Open will host a semi-final that already feels like a final in itself. Carlos Alcaraz wants to confirm that he is the natural heir to the tennis throne, while Novak Djokovic wants to prove that at 38 he can still shatter the dreams of the new generation.
With a plan A, B, and C, Ferrero and Alcaraz prepare for all possible versions of the Serbian.
Arthur Ashe Stadium is ready to witness another battle that could enter the history books. A war of generations where only one will be left standing. Juan Carlos Ferrero, former tennis player and Carlos Alcaraz's coach, has shared his point of view about Jannik Sinner's current level after his return to the courts at Roland Garros and about the new rivalry that has emerged in the tennis world between the Italian and the Spaniard. To Alcaraz, there are several players who can beat him, but to Sinner only Carlos Alcaraz can beat him. Do you agree with that comment? Manu Carreño asked the Valencian coach on El Larguero. Ferrero did not hesitate in his answer. Lately. Yes, I agree. Jannik hasn't lost to anyone other than Carlos since the US Open or even earlier. Alcaraz has the perfect style. He can create many tactical situations within a match, which is what bothers Sinner the most. A player, for example, like Rublev, who always plays at the same speed or height and without creating changes. Well, it's more difficult for him to beat Sinner. That's why Carlos has the perfect game, added the former world number 1 and 2003 Roland Garros champion. On the other hand, Ferrero spoke about Sinner's current level after his 3-month suspension and highlighted that he is very solid and that all this time has served him to grow physically and arrive fresh for the clay season. He is very solid, and he has come back very eager despite being 3 months out. Surely it was a very uncomfortable situation for him. That said, he had 3 months to grow muscularly and has arrived very fresh for the clay season. He looks eager and is playing just as well as he did in Australia. We are not surprised by his level because we already knew he had it, concluded the 45-year-old coach. Carlos Alcaraz has made a clear and firm decision before the most anticipated clash of the US Open, to face Novak Djokovic from a place of confidence and absolute control of his game. The Mercian, world number 2, not only arrives at the semifinals without dropping a set, but also assures, "Right now I have everything under control." With a smile on the court, feeling comfortable and enjoying every shot, Alcaraz approaches one of the most important matches of his career with a mindset that puts him at the center of all attention. After sweeping Jiri Lehecka in the quarterfinals, Alcaraz left no doubt about his form. He won in 3 sets, dominating the match and physically exhausting his opponent with constant attacks. But what stood out most was the serenity with which he spoke in the press conference. "I feel very comfortable for the next rounds. I have probably played my best match at the US Open. I am hitting the ball very well. Physically very well," he said, confirming that he is in the best possible shape before facing the Serbian. The most important decision for Alcaraz is not tactical, but mental. Instead of obsessing over Djokovic, he has chosen to focus on himself, on his tennis, and on the sensations that accompany him. "I have everything under control. I have a lot of calm and confidence ahead of the semi-final," he stated confidently. This choice reflects a degree of maturity that even his coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero, has underlined as one of the great differences in this tournament compared to others. The Mercian does not hide that he feels in full flow. Each match has demanded something different from him, and he has been able to adapt with authority, without giving up a single set. That ability to firmly respond to what each match requires is proof that his confidence is no accident, but the result of constant and well-focused work. In this sense, the decision to concentrate on his own game and not on Djokovic's is part of that mental evolution that sets him apart in this US Open. The goal is clear: to conquer his second title in New York. He already did it in 2022, but now the story repeats itself with an even more demanding path. First he must overcome the greatest of all time, Novak Djokovic, and then, if everything goes as expected, face Jannik Sinner in the final. Alcaraz knows this, but does not feel overwhelmed. "Focusing on myself and on how I am doing," he repeats as a mantra, convinced that his current tennis is enough to compete with anyone. Another crucial aspect is the atmosphere. Alcaraz shows himself smiling, enjoying the court, and that is key to his tennis. When he plays relaxed, confident, and with joy, his level rises exponentially. That positive attitude, beyond technique or tactics, is the true engine that can make the difference against Djokovic, a rival accustomed to the toughest stages. Finally, the very fact of having won Roland Garros this year gives him an extra boost of confidence. He already knows what it means to win in 2025 and wants to repeat in New York. The combination of mental maturity, physical freshness, and personal motivation makes Alcaraz a formidable rival, ready to prove that he is prepared to defeat Djokovic once again in a Grand Slam semifinal.